Hey guys, Lucian here, and today I'm doing another beginner's guide for ARMA 3. We're looking at clearing out buildings, compounds, and towns. Now, as usual with beginner guides for ARMA, and especially my beginner guides for ARMA, there's no real quick way sometimes to illustrate and show this to people. You can bullet point things, but the best way to learn is to watch how something plays out almost in real time with good communication. Now, what I'm going to show you to begin with is a couple of mistakes to make. Now, first of all, there's a few things you want to be aware of when it comes to clearing out towns, buildings, and compounds. One of those is self-awareness. Just being aware of yourself, your position, your teammates, people around you, your general environment. You also want to be careful not to turn your back to the enemy, thinking about your positioning in relation to environment, whether you're moving into a building or in and around a building, whether it's objects, rocks, trees, whatever. So it's important, again, to be aware of yourself, your positioning, your spatial awareness around objects and terrain. And the last thing we want to look at is the consequences of not clearing out. What can happen if you miss even one person? Now, I was not about to let Orange forget this from the other day. Orange was coming up into this building here on a mission. We were clearing through a small town, and he just assumes probably that this building was clear. Steps out, and hilarious consequences. However, serious point to make, it's a really terrible thing to just automatically assume a building is clear, and worse, to enter into a room like that with your back shown. Now right here we see one enemy unit in a corner, and you see the guys come in who are clearing out the building, and what the guys actually say is, this building's clear, let's move on. They didn't see this guy in the corner, they didn't actually sweep through the building. Now, again, one person doesn't seem like a big deal, but what we were talking about before, the consequences of missing these people, these actions, and what you see is another guy moving up later when they think that area is clear, and as you see, he ends up getting engaged. Doesn't get killed, luckily, but he does take, some hits. So that's the thing when it comes to clearing through these sites. And, the reason we pick up on these points, and we pick up on these points all the time in missions at the end when we have our debriefs and we talk about things that have happened, it's not to pick on people or highlight errors and call people out. That's not the purpose. You always learn from mistakes, and it's these kind of instances where you take stock and you look at what happened, you think, okay, I see what happened there, I must remember and make sure not to do that again. You're learning from those processes. Now, as I say, with my beginner guides, you'll see from the other ones, if you go and check those out on the channel as well, my beginner guides for ARMA tend to be quite long, because like I say, I don't think it's always helpful to just bullet point through and say, do this, do this, do this. Sometimes people physically, especially with a game like ARMA, need to see the process from start to finish. You see the entire thing. You're able to see how people move, communicate, the decisions that they make, and you also see that even when we're doing something like this, essentially like a little test, a setup situation, where I'm just saying to the guys like, hey, okay, go over here, clear out this site. Not everything can go to plan, and it's actually important to sort of see what happens in those situations. Now, in this situation, the guys have got to clear through a small site. There's only 3 of them, and I'll talk through and narrate at certain points in this to tell you a couple of little points that I want to highlight. So check this out, guys. I hope you'll enjoy, and I hope if you're new to ARMA, this is something that will be a good learning experience for you. If you have any questions, or if you have any ideas for a beginner guide that you think similar to this would be useful, then drop that down in the comments below. Next thing you'll be hearing is the guys communicating in on the ground. Their objective is to clear out this compound down the road here. They have no idea how many enemy there are. They just have to clear that site. You'll hear them in a minute talking, communicating, and working out their plan of attack. I'll jump in here and there with some thoughts.
Right, I've got eyes on enemy contacts compound to my northwest. Yep, I see him. One on the cover on the approach. Yeah, one on the porch. If we have the LNG coming from here, it might be quite easy to put fast port. Yeah, I'll try to find a spot where I can deploy. Roger, me and Flesh will go around the back of that hill to our north. I don't see the one guy on the porch. Do you see anything besides that? Top floor on the second building. Okay.
So the first thing they're trying to do here is they're trying to get some intel. They're trying to see how many units there are in this site, and off of that they're then trying to decide, okay, do we want to approach from this position? Do we want to move? Do we want to find a better position? Do we want to gather more intel? They're trying to find out, some information that's going to help them decide how best to handle this situation.
And our building with blue door, building 3. I've got a guy by corner of building 3, between building 3 and building 2. Yeah, I see him. just pull back and come from a different angle, push the one here.
Could go northeast and then loop back around.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
Me to stay here or?
Come with us, because you've only got eyes on one guy there.
Probably crouch from here.
So again, what we saw was the guys staying prone. They didn't want to be crouched because they didn't want to skyline themselves, even though they're against the hill. They just didn't want to basically make themselves a bigger target than was necessary. So now what they're doing is they're coming around, they're approaching from this north side to try and get better eyes on. And you can see that again, they're keeping good spacing. They're covering one another as they are moving. They're ensuring to, look around them. And also, you'll see periodically the guy, whoever is at the back, will look behind him, double check there's no enemy units patrolling, flanking, and all this kind of thing. So they're just trying to keep each other safe. They're keeping a fairly safe spread distance. And again, they're having to cross some pretty open terrain here. And they don't have enough information right now. They don't have enough information on how many units are in that site. Now, again, this might all seem very, very playing it safe, and to a degree they are. But then again, they're only 3 guys, and if you lose one person, that's 1/3 of your force. So they're having to take on a site here where there could be a lot of units in there, a lot of aggressive units, and a lot of firepower coming their way. And if they get caught in the wrong place at the wrong time, then it's game over straight away.
Got eyes on one guy in broken wall, building 1 top floor.
Oh yeah, I see his gun poking out.
Yeah, I think we're going to have to go in fairly loud to this one. Unless they think of a way we can get in without being seen.
Keep an eye on that. Keep an eye on that guy if you want to cross the road here.
They go through the rocks maybe?
We can try that, I'm not sure what's going to be like on the other side. This guy could be problematic for us. Don't keep their eye on them at all times.
Cross.
Roger. Draki, if you cover us here, we're going to make a bigger move across and then we'll cover you for your move. Right, I think our best option is going to be using these rocks as cover to move up, otherwise we're going to be fighting up here too steep. We'll try and keep it fairly level. We've got you covered if you want to move first now.
So again, I might translate because I know that sometimes those radio comms can be a little bit hard to hear if you're not used to that kind of communication. What the guys are saying is they think their best opportunity is to use the rocks to move up. They're concerned about some of the angle of approach, and they're just saying to one another, we're covering you, we're moving in. Over time, you get used to radio communications in the game, and you don't always have to use that depending on what server you're playing on, but it's something that your ear just tunes in over time.
Ready to move?
Flash.
Taken.
Guy in building 2 is down, but not dead.
Hit, needs a medic.
Pop smoke if you need to.
these rocks that we're on are pretty hot now.
Got a square head towards us.
South.
Reloading. Got one contact down in the field. Any eyes on the second one?
Nope.
Roger, he's gone down. He's gone firm.
He's unconscious. I see him.
Roger, put another one into the head.
Done.
Okay, let's go.
Got eyes in building 2, top floor, on the right side.
Roger.
His gun. I think he's on the balcony.
Roger.
About 50 meters behind you.
Sorry, got armoured.
Now, as often can happen, the guys got engaged a lot sooner than they wanted to. Often the AI and ARMA can get on you really fast. It means the guys are in a less secure position than they wanted to be. Now they've got to close that distance and they've got to keep themselves safe while they do it.
Got a pretty solid cover for your approach from here.
Roger.
Now as the guys approach here, we see a unit sitting in the corner of this building. Now Draki has got them covered from up on the rocks, but sometimes because of line of sight, he can't actually see that guy. And sometimes you can get caught out like this when approaching buildings in ARMA.
Alright.
Bottom floor, he's basically directly ahead of you. I
Gotcha.
saw his gun for a moment.
Throw a grenade in there.
I'm hit. I'm down. Moving back to cover.
Scratch that. To get back down over the flip of the hill for the frag over there.
Roger, I'm getting ready to flag now.
Basically, you see that little wreckage in front of you? The sand-colored small wreckage directly behind that.
Bring out. Alright, I'm gonna move past Wildcat for a minute. Back up. To my left, ground floor. Dead.
Now something that's really important to note about what just happened there is the importance of coordination and buddying up. Going into buildings and clearing out towns or just going off lone wolfing or solo all the time is a really bad thing to do. You can see how easy it is to get caught out. Having a guy with you to help support you, back you up, medic you is always really critical in any situation.
Where was it? I did not see him for left no money.
Right here.
Roger. Okay, I'm ready to push upstairs.
Alright, ground floor looks clear. Famous last words.
That my position. My head didn't heal for some reason.
Guy on building 2 looks left again, I got a shot.
Okay, I'm back up and ready.
Alright. Then go up and go left.
Head shot.
Roger, I'll go right.
Left is clear.
Tango down, right room clear. Building 1 clear.
Got eyes across the building too. Nothing to look at though.
Gonna move right to see
Friendly
if
RC,
you guys
friendly
are
RC.
clear in the middle.
Roger. I've got the back way clear. Covered. Roger, I'm going to take your position.
Ooh, I got contact on the right.
Roger, stay in cover. Let's push towards building 2. Pushing out. Hanger down doorway building 2, pushing. Pushing stairs, I'll push straight, you go right. Hanger downstairs. Okay, change that, going right. Top floor clear.
Yep.
Cancel that one on balcony, Tango down.
So I got building 3. Contact south-southeast. Or east-southeast rather. Breaching. Garage clear.
Moving on to building 3.
They're on the left side of the compound.
Roger.
Woo!
Becky, where are you?
I'm at the front of the garage.
Roger, we're at the back door of garage.
So there we go, guys, a simple site clearance, and the guys did a good job of getting in there, finding their positions, IDing their targets, calling out the building clearances, and after this they gave the site another once over around 360 just to make sure it was safe. Now, whenever you're playing ARMA, funny things can happen, nothing ever goes smoothly to plan. It's always important to show that. I always think it's important to show that nothing is ever perfect because, you know, you need to realise that when you're in game you can get caught out at any time. Hope this was helpful for you guys. If you liked it, drop a like, always helps me out, and the channel. I'll see you next time for some more ARMA 3.